Welcome to World Mysteries, where we unravel the shadows of history and peer into the unknown. Tonight, we venture into the haunted heart of America, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, a place where the ground itself whispers of blood, bravery, and restless spirits. The Battle of Gettysburg, fought in July 1863, was the bloodiest clash of the American Civil War, leaving over 50,000 soldiers dead, wounded, or missing. But what if some of those souls never left? What if the fields, hills, and old stone walls still echo with their cries? Buckle up, because this tale of the ghosts of Gettysburg will chill your bones and keep you glued to every word. Picture this: July 1st, 1863. The air is thick with gunpowder, the ground shakes with cannon fire, and the screams of men pierce the summer haze. Gettysburg, a quiet farming town, becomes a crucible of death as Union and Confederate forces collide in a battle that will decide the fate of a nation. For 3 days, the fields turn red, the air grows heavy with the stench of decay, and the cries of the dying linger like a curse. By the time the smoke clears, the Union holds the line, but at a cost no one could fathom. Over 7,000 men lie dead, their bodies scattered across the rolling hills, and thousands more will never see home again. But death, it seems, was only the beginning. Gettysburg is no ordinary place. Locals say the land itself is scarred, soaked not just with blood, but with something deeper, something that refuses to let go. Visitors report an eerie stillness, a weight in the air that presses against your chest. The battlefields, preserved as a national park, are a magnet for historians, tourists, and ghost hunters alike. And for good reason. From the rocky outcrop of Devil's Den to the somber slopes of Little Round Top, the spirits of Gettysburg are restless, and they have stories to tell. Let's start at Devil's Den, a jagged pile of boulders where sharpshooters once crouched, picking off enemies with deadly precision. During the battle, this rocky maze was a slaughterhouse. Confederate soldiers, pinned down by Union fire, were torn apart by artillery. The ground ran red, and the screams echoed off the stones. If you visit Devil's Den today, you might feel it, a chill that creeps up your spine, even on a warm summer day. Park rangers, who've spent years patrolling these grounds, tell of strange encounters. One ranger, who asked to remain anonymous, shared a story from a late-night patrol. It was near midnight, the moon casting long shadows across the boulders. He heard footsteps crunching on gravel, steady and deliberate, like a soldier marching. But when he turned, flashlight in hand, there was no one there. The sound stopped, only to start again moments later, this time accompanied by a faint whisper, a voice calling out, "Hold the line." Then there's the tale of the Texas sharpshooter. Visitors to Devil's Den often report seeing a scruffy, bearded man in a tattered gray uniform, his eyes hollow and distant. He points toward the nearby triangular field, muttering, "They're coming through the trees." Those brave enough to follow his gaze see nothing but empty fields, yet their cameras tell a different story. Photos taken at Devil's Den sometimes reveal strange orbs, misty figures, or even the faint outline of a soldier standing among the rocks. One tourist, a skeptic by nature, captured an image of what looked like a man in a kepi hat, staring directly at the camera. The chilling part, no one was there when she took the shot. Cross the fields to Sachs Covered Bridge, a red-painted relic that once served as a crossing point for both armies. During the battle, it was a lifeline for retreating Confederates, but not all made it across. Some say the bridge is cursed, haunted by those who fell in its shadow. At night, the wooden planks creak under invisible footsteps, and the air grows thick with the scent of smoke and blood. One of the most haunting tales is that of the Weeping Widow. Legend tells of a young woman who waited at the bridge for her husband, a Union soldier, to return from the battle. Day after day she stood there, clutching a locket with his picture, her hope fading with each passing hour. When word came that he'd been killed at nearby Cemetery Hill, she collapsed in grief, her cries echoing across the water. They say she never left. Visitors to the bridge at dusk report hearing soft sobs carried on the wind, and some claim to see a woman in a long, tattered dress, her face hidden by a shawl, standing at the bridge's edge. One brave soul, a paranormal investigator, recorded what sounded like a woman's voice whispering, "He's gone," on an EVP device. The recording, played back later, sent chills through his team. But it's not just the widow who lingers. Campers near the bridge have reported campfires flaring up in the distance, only to vanish when approached. Others speak of shadowy figures crossing the bridge at night, their silhouettes flickering like candlelight. One group of teenagers, daring each other to spend the night, fled in terror when they heard a low, guttural moan coming from inside the bridge. They swore it sounded like, "Get out." If the battlefields are the heart of Gettysburg's hauntings, then Pennsylvania Hall at Gettysburg College is its haunted soul. During the battle, this grand building served as a field hospital for both sides. The screams of wounded soldiers filled the air as surgeons performed amputations without anesthesia, their tools slick with blood. The basement, now used for storage, was once a makeshift morgue, where bodies were stacked like cordwood. Students and staff at the college have long whispered about strange occurrences in Pennsylvania Hall. Elevators move on their own, stopping at floors no one requested. Doors slam shut in empty corridors, and footsteps echo in the stairwells late at night. One janitor, working the graveyard shift, quit after seeing a man in a blood-stained uniform staring at him from the end of a hallway. When he called out, the figure vanished, leaving only a cold spot in the air. Perhaps the most chilling story comes from two administrators who stayed late one night in the 1980s. As they worked in their office, the elevator began to descend on its own. Curious, they watched as the doors opened, revealing a scene straight out of hell. The basement was no longer a storage room, but a bustling field hospital, filled with wounded soldiers writhing in pain. Surgeons, their aprons soaked in blood, sawed through limbs, while orderlies carried bodies to a corner. The administrators stood frozen, unable to look away, until the elevator doors closed. When they checked the basement moments later, it was empty, silent, and dark. High above the battlefield lies Little Round Top, where Colonel Joshua Chamberlain and his 20th Maine held the Union line against overwhelming odds. The fighting here was brutal, with men falling among the rocks and trees, their blood staining the earth. Today, it's one of the most visited spots in Gettysburg and one of the most haunted. Rangers and tourists alike report seeing ghostly soldiers patrolling the hill at dusk. One group of reenactors, dressed in period uniforms, was approached by a man they thought was part of their group. He handed them what looked like authentic Civil War cartridges, his face pale and his eyes distant. When they tried to thank him, he vanished into the trees. Later, they discovered the cartridges were real, dating back to 1863. Another chilling tale comes from a park guide leading a sunset tour. As she described the battle, a thick fog rolled in, unnatural for the clear evening. Her group heard the faint sound of drumming, followed by a bugle call echoing through the trees. Thinking it was a reenactment, she led her group toward the sound, only to find the hill empty. The fog lifted as quickly as it came, but one tourist, shaken, showed her a photo she'd taken during the fog. In it, a line of shadowy figures stood among the trees, their muskets raised as if ready to charge. Not all of Gettysburg's ghosts are soldiers. The National Homestead at Gettysburg, once an orphanage for children of fallen Union soldiers, hides a dark secret. In the years after the war, the orphanage's headmistress, Rosa Carmichael, was rumored to be cruel, locking children in the basement for days without food. Some never came out. Today, the building is a museum, but the echoes of those children remain. Visitors report hearing giggles and footsteps running through empty hallways. Others feel small hands tugging at their clothes, only to turn and find no one there. One particularly eerie account comes from a tour guide who felt a cold breath on her neck while locking up for the night. When she turned, she saw the faint outline of a child's face in the window, her eyes wide and pleading. The guide ran, refusing to return alone. So why do these spirits linger? Some say the sheer scale of death at Gettysburg left a psychic imprint on the land, trapping souls in a loop of their final moments. Others believe the soldiers and civilians who died here are bound by unfinished business, love, duty, or vengeance. Paranormal experts suggest the limestone bedrock beneath Gettysburg acts like a battery, storing the energy of those violent days and releasing it as ghostly apparitions. Whatever the reason, the ghosts of Gettysburg are not just stories. They're felt in the chill of the air, heard in the whispers on the wind, and seen in the shadows that move when no one's there. From the blood-soaked rocks of Devil's Den to the sorrowful cries at Sachs Bridge, this town is a living testament to the cost of war and the spirits who refuse to let us forget. If you ever visit Gettysburg, tread lightly. Walk the fields at dusk and you might hear the faint echo of a drum or the clatter of a musket. Stand at the edge of Devil's Den and you might catch a glimpse of a soldier who never left his post. Listen at Sachs Bridge, and the weeping widow might share her grief. And if you're brave enough to wander Pennsylvania Hall after dark, don't be surprised if the past comes alive before your eyes. This is World Mysteries, and the ghosts of Gettysburg are waiting. Will you dare to meet them? Until next time, keep your eyes open and your heart brave, because the shadows of history are never far away. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey. If this tale of Gettysburg spirits has left you hungry for more, subscribe to World Mysteries and share your own ghostly encounters in the comments below. What's the scariest place you've ever visited? Let us know, and we'll see you in the next mystery.